Hi friends, this is Arun. In this video, we'll have a look at what is an API, okay, and why it is used, where it is used, how it is helpful for a programmer or a developer, okay. So let's start with very basics, like what is API? API is nothing but a function, okay. So it helps you to interact with an application, okay. So you can talk to an application using your programming language. The language could be Java, C, C++, or whatever language, PHP, Ruby, any language, and interface with them. When I say interface, you can control them, okay, from here. Okay, so that is the purpose of an API. API helps you to control any external control or get the data or do something with an external application without you touching the mouse or a keyboard, without a human intervention. Completely from using the program, you can do it. That is the purpose of API. And the API is generally exposed by the third party. I mean, the let's assume you are interacting with the program, right? So that guy has to expose the API, and you are the consumer of the API. Let's assume I want to get the data from Google search. So Google gives a search APIs, and for example, I want map. So Google gives a map API. So I take that map APIs and then use it. And when it comes to Windows, the Windows also gives some Windows API, like controlling the Windows OS and other things to a certain level. They'll not give the 100% control to us, but to a certain level they give us. And not only Windows or the web, even the applications, normal applications like Word, Excel, all those guys expose functions which you can interact with with those applications without doing anything manually. All you need to do is like programmatically do it. For example, if you want to create a Word application with certain things, all you need is write a code and then do it. So if it is one time creation, obviously you don't need the program at all. But let's assume you want to generate a report certificate for around 500 people, hmm, and only the name and the class changes. So what preferred way is to write a program and then generate those things. So in those cases, the APIs are very handy to automate those tasks and then get the data. In context of web, let's assume you are running a site which displays the weather, and you want to interact with the third. You'll not go and manually update the weather every day. Okay, what you can do is you can hook up with the nearby weather station, and if they give the API, all you need is write a PHP code or a JavaScript code or a Ruby code or a Python code to get read the data from their API which they are giving it, and then display it in your website. So like that, API helps you in multiple ways to solve the real world problems. So it acts as a glue between two guys. So you and me, you, if you are the third party and I am the consumer, and you give me the data in a format, either in a XML format or a JSON format, and I'll consume that and use it in my application. For example, if we go to the Wikipedia, it says application program interface is a set of rules and specifications, blah 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 blah. So all those are like bullshit. You don't need to worry about it. All it is like a set of functions. So what is the rules of a function takes some parameters and returns some values, that's all. Sometimes it may take, it may not return, both the things are there. So in API, most of the cases they'll return some status because you don't know whether it is executed or not. So for that state, at least they'll return some value, successfully executed or failed, all those things they'll give it. Okay, so this is the story of an API, or why we need API. So in traditional world, you have the base as the Windows, right? So with the Windows, you interact with your hardware, mouse, keyboard, whatever, hard disk, all the stuff. Okay, network. So what you do, you generally go to the Windows control application and then start doing it, right? Instead of that, can I write a program to control my keyboard? Yes, you can do it. That's called Windows hooks. With the Windows hooks, you can hook the tap your keyboard data directly, even without before going into the application or before processing it to something else. Okay, the same way you can control your monitor. So what do you want to do with the monitor if they're giving the API for it? So until unless they don't give it, we'll not be able to use it. That's always remember that. Okay, same with the network. There are a lot of network APIs which it is there. So these are the different functionalities as we talked about it, and all the functionalities have a control functions over it. For example, if you want to get the list of Wi-Fi's in your computer, you can use an API to do that. So Windows gives a API for it. And if you want to press simulate a key, for example key press, there is a API in Windows to do that. So you all you need is like a, so instead of you going and typing and logging, you can ask the Windows script to do it. So that way your application will sit up on top of these elements, and then you can control it. So that would be a lot of fun to do it. During my colleges I used to play a lot with that. So there is a API to freeze the keyboard and mouse, so for X number of seconds. So what I used to do is like I used to put in my friend's computer and say that, hey, so I have put a virus into your system, so it will not work. So probably I'll unlock with my own control from a remote machine and say that get me a tea, I'll unlock your machine, or else I'll not allow it. So when they do a mischievous thing, I'll freeze the thing, and then I'll get the tea or whatever fun thing from it. And after that, when they learned it, they started kicking me back. So these are some of the APIs, which is get free disk space, create file, normal file operations. Like that is an API. Okay. Net validate name, get key state, send input. Send input is the one which I was saying. So where you can send the mouse click or the keyboard click to the external applications from you. Okay, within Windows. All these are Windows APIs. Okay, every OS has their own set of APIs. I'm just picking Windows because everybody is familiar with Windows. That's all. So even if you go to Unix based systems, all they have a POSIX APIs for all the stuffs. Okay, so this is how traditionally API was there. So the APIs were, I mean, there are around 900 API, 900 plus API functions. They are called Win32 API. Okay, so for file services they have a API, and Windows they had a API. I mean, if you are into automation like a web automation or a Windows automation, mostly these are the things which is happening behind the scenes. How you are able to automate, how you are manage the process, threads, services, inter-process communications, all the hell happens through. You can do it through API. For everything they have API. So if you go to Google and search for API, you'll be able to find a lot of things. Even in Windows, you'll have the whole list of APIs. Windows API, you have it, from which you can start playing around with any one of the programming language. They have it for Java. They have the support, and then VB. VB is almost dead, so probably VB.NET mostly. You can start using those APIs and then playing around with small mini programs for yourself. Okay, so that is the API for you when it comes to the traditional context. But the same thing when you go to a web context, it is different. So when I say different, it's not completely different. Instead of interacting with the OS, you are going to interact with the website. Like let's assume if you are going to interact with the Facebook or Google, so like that you can interact with them and get the data from them. Okay, for Facebook you can go use a Facebook search, will show you the thing. Okay, before that, this is a simple VB command I used to play around with to bring the window on top, like whatever application which I want to bring it on top of it, like I can do it. Okay, so this is one of the bring window top is one of the simplest APIs which I always play around with. You can also play around with Google for it. You will find a lot of code examples for it. Okay, so this is a window example for Windows API. Hwind is the window handle. So let's assume I want to set something else for window handle. I can set it. Okay, so as we were discussing, we'll go to the what is it? Web world. So in web, what if you want your own Google search API UI, you don't like it, or like you want to mask it. So Google gives the option to use their API search with the API, and then you can use it. Not only search, they give for every other damn thing which you have. YouTube as a API, you can fetch all the data from the YouTube using their APIs. Google Maps as the API, Google Docs as the API. I guess I haven't used Google Docs API, but Maps I have used, as well as this guy I've used. Okay. For example, I'll show you one couple of examples which I have seen interesting. So there is one guy who has created his own Java-based application with the Windows Search API. This is the search window which he has used it. Okay. So which you, if you want, you can also build on your own style. Okay. So this is a Google API. The same way Twitter also has Twitter API, which you can fetch all the Twitter thing. So this is a simple piece of code which helps you to get that. So first you call the service and then give a key, okay, and something called endpoint. They call this an endpoint. Endpoint is nothing but a function, okay. So instead of I mean, we are used to jargons, right? So they have created another jargon called the endpoint. With the endpoint, if you hit it, it will finally call a function inside that their code, and it will fetch you the data, or it will update the data, whatever you want to do it. Okay. So you use get and method, get post web methods to do it, and you exchange the data using two ways. Like one is XML, another one is JSON. XML is old school, but still people, lot of people use it. The new format is JSON. JSON is nothing but JavaScript object notation, which is picked from JavaScript style of coding, and it is natively supported in most of the languages because it's just a key value pair. Every language has a key value pair thing, like associative arrays or maps or dictionaries. Okay, every language has that feature nowadays. Okay, so let's go and fetch some data from live so that we'll be more clear about the API, web APIs basically. So I'm going to get data about Google Maps. Okay, so all I did is like I went to developers.google.com and then going here, and then I'm copying. I mean, first you need a key. So as of now, we will go without authentication. So I'm just copying the code over here, and then so once I pasted the code, all I got is some data. So see, so typically from websites you will not be able to get it, right. So here they, with the API, they are giving it. So with this data I can use it in my application. For example, let's I'm writing my own Android application or a web application which shows the locations of certain things. So I'll get it from Google and place it. So you can even change the values. For example, here I have used it for Chennai, and then I've given it. So see here. So finally I got some data. So Chennai is in Tamil Nadu, India, all those things, and what is the geometry locations like lat, long, all those things are present over there inside it, and the format is in JSON. Okay, so this is the JSON thing. The same way, if you go to Facebook also, so the Facebook also gives the same similar thing. Like it gives the app ID, so that is a secret key. First one, app ID and the secret key, all those things it gives, and with that you can get your Facebook friends list, all those things. So whenever you play an app using Facebook, right, this is how behind the scenes it happens. Okay, so this is the purpose of API. Thank you, friends. Bye bye.